Orthodox Christianity. Orthodox Christianity has some of the oldest roots in Africa, especially in Egypt and Ethiopia. In Egypt, Christianity arrived in Alexandria around 42 CE, believed to be brought by Saint Mark, the evangelist. The Coptic Orthodox Church of Alexandria was established and remains one of the oldest Christian institutions. In Ethiopia, Christianity came to the Kingdom of Aksum in the 4th century. The king at the time converted around 330 CE, making Ethiopia one of the first Christian nations. Eastern Orthodox Christianity, on the other hand, had very limited historical presence in Africa until modern times. In the 20th century, Eastern Orthodox churches, mainly the Greek Orthodox Church of Alexandria, began spreading missions in sub-Saharan Africa. Based in Egypt, it expanded to places like Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Ghana, Congo, and Zimbabwe. These missions gained converts through education, social work, and liturgical appeal. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church and Eritrean Orthodox Church remain dominant in their countries and are culturally and spiritually central. These churches follow their own liturgical calendar, language, and ancient practices. Sunni Islam. Sunni Islam first entered Africa through the Arab Muslim conquest of Egypt in 641 CE. The Umayyad Caliphate expanded westward across Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, and Morocco. Arab settlers introduced Sunni Islam, particularly the Maliki school, and blended with local Berber populations. These Arab and Berber traders eventually brought Sunni Islam to West Africa via caravan routes. Local rulers in empires like Ghana, Mali, and Songhai adopted Islam to strengthen trade and diplomacy. Cities such as Timbuktu became Islamic learning hubs. Over at East Africa, Arab and Persian merchants spread Sunni Islam to the Swahili coast through maritime trade. Coastal cities like Mogadishu, Mombasa, and Kilwa embraced Islam early, blending it with African cultures to form Swahili Muslim societies. Reformist movements like the Almoravids also played an important role in the spread of Orthodox Sunni Islam in the Maghreb and West Africa. Later, Fulani-led jihads in the 18th to 19th centuries established Sunni Islamic states like the Sokoto Caliphate in Nigeria, promoting Islamic law and scholarship. Sunni Sufi orders like Qadiriyya and Tijaniya also had major impacts on the spread of Islam in rural African areas. Their spiritual and flexible approach made Islam more acceptable to local African traditions, deepening the faith's roots in society. Catholicism, as part of early Christianity, reached North Africa as early as the 1st century CE, brought by Roman settlers and missionaries. Cities like Alexandria, Carthage, and Hippo became Christian centers. Influential early church fathers like Saint Augustine of Hippo were from this region. After the Islamic conquest in the 7th century, Christianity declined significantly but remained in some pockets. Catholicism returned with Portuguese explorers in the 15th century. The Congo Kingdom, which is present-day Angola and DR Congo, converted to Catholicism after contact with the Portuguese around 1491. These Catholic missionaries baptized local kings and built churches. However, this early spread was limited and often tied to trade, slavery, and politics. During the scramble for Africa, the continent saw massive expansion of Catholicism under European colonial rule. French, Portuguese, Belgian, and Spanish colonial powers brought Catholic missions to West, Central, and parts of East Africa. Catholic schools, hospitals, and churches were established to support missionary work and colonial administration. Missionaries often focused on education, conversion, and language translation, helping spread Catholic beliefs. By the time many African countries gained independence, the Catholic Church had already become deeply rooted in African society. Local clergy and bishops emerged, replacing foreign missionaries. African Catholicism grew rapidly, blending traditional African culture with Catholic teachings. Africa became one of the fastest growing Catholic regions in the world, especially in countries like Nigeria, DR Congo, Uganda, Angola, and Ivory Coast. Protestant Christianity. Protestant Christianity began in Europe in the 16th century, but it didn't reach Africa in a significant way until centuries later. Early efforts were minimal and mostly unsuccessful due to limited colonial influence by Protestant nations at the time. However, Protestantism spread widely across sub-Saharan Africa during the colonial period, especially through British, German, and Dutch colonial powers. Most of this spread was facilitated by missionary societies like the Church Missionary Society and the American Board of Commissioners for Foreign Missions. These groups focused on Bible translation, education, and healthcare. Protestantism often arrived with colonial administration. For example, in South Africa, the Dutch Reformed Church was introduced by Dutch settlers in the 1600s in the Cape Colony. It became a dominant religious force in white South African society and later influenced Afrikaner nationalism. A major strength of Protestant missions in Africa was their emphasis on literacy. The Bible was translated into local African languages like Yoruba, Zulu, Swahili, and so on. After independence, Protestant churches were Africanized. Local leadership replaced foreign missionaries. New African independent churches emerged, blending Christianity with African spiritual traditions. Evangelical and Pentecostal movements grew explosively in the late 20th and early 21st centuries. Today, Protestant Christianity is widespread across sub-Saharan Africa, especially in Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, South Africa, and Ethiopia. Shia Islam. Shia Islam first appeared in Africa through the Fatimid Caliphate between 909 and 1171 CE. They conquered Egypt in 969 CE and established Cairo as their capital. Shia Islam was the official state religion under their rule, but after the Fatimids fell, Sunni Islam became dominant again. The Ismaili branch of Shia Islam spread to parts of East Africa, especially in coastal Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda, through Indian and Persian merchants during Indian Ocean trade. In the 20th century, especially after the Iranian Revolution of 1979, Twelver Shia Islam gained a small but growing following in Nigeria, Senegal, Ghana, and Tanzania, often spread through education, outreach, and scholarships funded by Iran. Shia Muslims in Africa are often a minority within Muslim minorities, facing opposition or even persecution in predominantly Sunni regions. Still, Shia communities maintain religious schools, mosques, and cultural events, like the Ashura commemorations. Judaism. Judaism has had a long and ancient presence in Africa, particularly in North Africa and the Horn of Africa, long before the rise of Islam or Christianity. Jews lived in Egypt since at least the 6th century BCE, after the Babylonian exile. Large communities existed in Alexandria under the Ptolemaic and Roman empires, including Hellenized Jews who influenced early philosophy and religious thought. Ethiopia is often considered the Beta Israel, with Ethiopian Jews claiming descent from the tribe of Dan, with traditions dating back to the Solomonic dynasty or even earlier. Their practices developed in isolation from Rabbinic Judaism, but they preserved strong Jewish identities and customs. In the 20th century, many were airlifted to Israel in Operations Moses of 1984 and Solomon of 1991. Under Roman and later Islamic rule, Jewish communities thrived in Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, and Libya, though often faced restrictions or persecution. Many North African Jews were Sephardic refugees from Spain and Portugal after the 1492 expulsion. In sub-Saharan Africa, the Lemba people of Zimbabwe and South Africa claimed Jewish ancestry and practiced customs similar to Judaism, like dietary laws, male circumcision, and so on. DNA studies show some links to Cohen lineage, supporting claims of ancient Jewish roots. Some Igbo communities in Nigeria practice Judaism and believe they are descendants of the lost tribes of Israel. Their Judaism is largely self-initiated, with support from the global Jewish diaspora. Thanks for watching.